Engines scream, tires bite into wet asphalt. Then, impact. Metal folds. Glass explodes into glittering chaos. Heartbeats race faster than the sirens. This isn't a movie. This is real, raw, unfiltered, and terrifying. Buckle up. You're about to witness what happens when control shatters. A woman steps off the curb, unaware of the speeding car approaching. The driver swerves just in time, only to crash into the parked vehicle behind. A car started crashing into everything around it, and a nearby driver rushed over, only to discover, unbelievably, that a dog was behind the wheel trying to steal the car. At a snowy intersection, one car speeds through without slowing down. In an instant, it slams into another vehicle, the crash echoing across the frozen streets. Traffic flows smoothly down the busy street. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the manhole covers shoot into the air, startling everyone nearby. The rocket launches with a roar, rising confidently into the sky. But within seconds, it tilts downward, plummeting nose first to the ground before exploding in a fiery blast. A car slows down to make a turn, its signal blinking calmly. But the driver behind reacts a second too late, and the sound of metal meeting metal shatters the routine silence. As the car begins its turn, the driver fails to notice another vehicle racing straight toward the intersection. The impact comes suddenly, a brief moment of misjudgment ending in a violent crash. The car speeds down the road, swaying slightly from side to side. Suddenly, it loses control and slams hard into a fence, sending debris flying in all directions. The abandoned building stands eerily still, its structure weakened by time. Without warning, it collapses, sending people running in every direction as dust fills the air. Losing control on a quiet stretch, the driver veers off course. The car slams into a pole, the impact echoing through the still air. The driver loses control and drifts onto the roadside. In seconds, the car skids sideways and flips over with a deafening crash. A sudden turn goes terribly wrong as an SUV mounts another car. In seconds, the smaller vehicle is crushed beneath its weight. On the roadside, a car burns fiercely, flames consuming its frame. The heat distorts the air as smoke rises into the cold sky, a haunting sight of destruction. A plane descends low over the highway, struggling to stay aloft. Moments later, it crashes onto the road and erupts into a fiery explosion. The driver loses control in a sudden turn. The vehicle veers off course and crashes straight into a pole with a violent jolt. A car soared through the air above the road. Not Superman, not a meteor, but a real vehicle flying at full speed. A truck's wheel flew off and hit the car behind. The impact was so strong, the car flipped over. At a crowded intersection, the bus struggles to stop on time. In a heartbeat, it collides with a small car ahead, the impact echoing through the crossing. A truck brakes suddenly, forcing the Kamaz behind it to swerve, unable to stop in time. As it veers into the opposite lane, a small car appears, and the collision becomes unavoidable. A bus crossing the railway tracks collided with a train, a terrifying moment that shows how a second's mistake can lead to disaster. The rocket lifts off, engines roaring with promise. But barely seconds later, it plunges back to the ground and explodes in a blinding blast, a stunning yet terrifying sight. A small car loses control and crashes into an ambulance ahead. The impact sends the emergency vehicle skidding across the ice, sliding helplessly toward the roadside. A Kamaz truck loaded with concrete beams struggles to stay steady on icy roads. As it skids out of control, the heavy beams spill onto the opposite lane, heading straight toward oncoming cars. The driver loses control as the car skids across the wet road. In an instant, it slams into a traffic light, bringing the chaos to a halt. Inside the factory, everything seems normal until a sudden burst of white smoke fills the air. Moments later, flames ignite, spreading quickly through the building. A racer pushes his car to the limit, but control slips away. The vehicle slams into a fence at full speed, erupting in a sudden fiery explosion. A small car pulls out to make a turn, unaware of a speeding truck approaching. The icy road leaves the truck no chance to stop, and in moments, it crashes into the helpless vehicle. A car speeds through a puddle, drenching a passing cyclist in muddy water. But karma strikes quickly. Moments later, the driver loses control and skids off the road. As the race begins, the car swerves unpredictably across the track. Moments later, white smoke pours from its engine before it crashes violently into the barrier. A small car cuts sharply in front of a truck, forcing the driver to swerve left. The truck crashes into another beside it, while the reckless car speeds away from the scene. A Formula One driver speeds into the corner, pushing the limits of control. Suddenly, the car spins out, crashes, and bursts into flames as marshals race toward the scene. Two heavy trucks charge toward each other on the open road. In a split second, they collide head-on, a violent crash that leaves twisted metal in its wake. An ambulance rushes through a red light, sirens blaring. But a speeding car crosses the same intersection, colliding with it and flipping the ambulance onto its side. The boat drifts peacefully across the water, its passengers relaxed and unaware. Suddenly, flames erupt on deck, and the crew scrambles desperately to put out the fire. The small car loses traction on the ice, sliding sideways with no control. Moments later, it glides off the road and comes to rest on the snowy shoulder. A van tries to cross the railway just as the barriers come down, trapping it on the tracks. With nowhere to go, the driver can only wait until a speeding train slams into the rear of the vehicle. Unbelievable! The paved road gave way right under a moving car, a terrifying moment caught on camera. The car hits a deep pothole at full speed, one that acts like a ramp. In an instant, it launches into the air, flying several meters before crashing back down onto the road. The Ferris wheel turned slowly against the sky, lights twinkling in the evening. Then flames appear on one of the cabins, and horrified onlookers capture the unfolding disaster on their phones. The car loses traction on the icy road as it approaches the intersection. Sliding out of control, it crashes hard into the side of another vehicle, crossing the lane. At a busy intersection, two cars approach from different directions at high speed. In a split second, one slams into the side of the other, the crash echoing through the crossing. At a smelting plant, a driver carefully dumps waste into the molten pool. Suddenly, the lava bubbles and bursts, splashing fiery liquid onto the vehicle. A heavy truck approaches too fast to brake in time. Within seconds, it plows into the line of waiting cars ahead, metal crunching under its unstoppable weight. Roadside poles came crashing down onto the passing cars, but fortunately, no one was injured. One reckless maneuver sets off disaster. After being cut off, the second driver loses control and crashes into a roadside fence. The small car slips on the icy road, spinning out of control. In a split second, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle, a brief loss of grip turning into a serious collision. A quiet morning commute turns into chaos as a city bus collides head-on with a heavy truck. What began as an ordinary drive suddenly becomes a fight for survival. A bus fails to notice the car ahead and crashes straight into it. Trapped between two buses, the small vehicle is crushed in a frightening sandwich of metal and glass. The race car hugs the edge of the track, sparks flying from its tires. But as it scrapes against the wall, flames erupt, engulfing the vehicle in seconds. A drunk driver swerves wildly along the roadside. Again and again, he crashes into the barriers, turning the road into a scene of chaos. Crazy crashes, epic saves. Don't blink. Like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments.